Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Paula Skoviera. Paula, born and raised in Ontario, Canada. She goes by Princess Paula in the business world. She's the business development manager for AdvantaClean of the Twin Cities Eastern Metro, and it's more than just Eastern Metro Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, for those who don't know anything about geography, but also Western Wisconsin. But she takes care of all their social media, marketing, and referral partner relationships, among other things. And I met her through networking, and when she's not out there networking or sponsoring a chamber event, she's most likely creating videos or doing renovation projects on her home. She's an Italian Canadian. I don't know what that means. I'm sure she'll explain that. But I love her because she's a diehard Packer fan, mother of 3 great college kids, and she loves to bake and cook. So she says. I will take it that you love to bake and cook. Are you a good bake and cook? That's the other question. But the point of interest, she's an accomplished musician and can be hired to sing or play piano at weddings, funerals, or special events. Paula, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Frank. Of course, right away, I'm thinking I need to send you a jar of my homemade sauce now. I got to make a note.
Okay, well, there you go. I love to cook as well. People, hey, what does your wife make for you? She doesn't. I would starve to death, because she's just not a cook. But I like to cook.
Well, no, I come from a long line of Italians. I'm actually the first generation born in Canada, so we cook. And we like to cook. So.
Well, I have some friends here who are Italian as well, and that same story. My son's soccer coach came over from Italy when he was 12 with his parents, and every Sunday night, that's where my son's at their house, Smart
young man.
Oh my God. Yeah. They'll ask questions about our son. It's like, you talk to him more than we do. I don't know.
Well, and I know with my husband, I've told him that I didn't realize until I moved to the States that they sold the spaghetti sauce, in a jar on the counter in the grocery store. Cause I just grew up with all the homemade stuff and all the good stuff. So.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, anyhow, you're actually in Western Wisconsin, Eau Claire. Most people don't know where that's at. I went to college in Wisconsin. You're in Eau Claire, right?
Oh, yes. My son's actually going to college there right now.
Okay, cool.
UW Eau Claire.
Yeah. I guess share with us your story, how you got into, nobody grows up and says, I want to be the marketing person dealing with
to promote mold, right?
Yes.
As a young girl of 13, I said, someday, if I work really hard, I can promote mold.
Yeah.
Well, and so I have a degree in teaching. I'm a teacher by trade. But moving to the States, that really wasn't a possibility. Minnesota has no reciprocity with any other state or country. So I could not teach here. And it was kind of a journey of figuring out, what am I really good at? What do I like to do? So there was a period of time where I kind of moved between a few jobs. All of them really revolved around marketing, branding, helping people figure out how to get new prospects and leads. Because I'm definitely a people person and love connecting with people. And then we moved from Minnesota over to Wisconsin, to the motherland, as I say, for us Packer fans.
Yep.
Moved here in 2018 and kind of starting fresh. At that time, I was working for a nonprofit, and that's when I first met my boss. We were both in a networking group together. And after about a year or so, 2019 was a really difficult year. My mom passed away. There was a lot of things going on, health issues. So I took a step back from work so I could reevaluate, family, home life, get everything under control. So then when it was time to get back to work, finally being at a point where I really knew what I was good at. By this point in life, I'm self-aware and I know that I'm really good at networking, really good at marketing and promoting. So now I went out looking for a job with the mindset of who's going to be lucky enough to get me? What company is going to be fortunate enough to have me as their employee? And when you have that mindset, it totally changes how you go into an interview process and how you look at everything. And so I knew my boss already from these networking groups, salt of the earth. The guy is amazing. No one has anything bad to say about him, the way he runs his business, everything. He's fantastic. And I was also self-aware enough to know having a good boss is really, really important. That is key to job satisfaction. So I just approached him and said, would you like me to work for you? And I'll go and make AdvantaClean known throughout the land. And he said, absolutely. He's willing to work with, I want to be part-time, 3/4 time. And he was like, yep, that's fine. And so now that I've settled into this, gosh, I love what I do. Yeah. I really, really love what I get to do.
Well, here's a case in point, don't judge a book by its cover or by its LinkedIn profile, because you and I were connected by Scott Mason, if I recall. And Scott's kind of like an Uber networker, and that's how Scott's in New York City. And that's how, I've known Scott. And so when Scott connected us, I automatically go to look at people's LinkedIn. And I'm like, okay, I don't get it though. I know what AdvantaClean is. I mean, you're fire restoration, mold remediation, flood cleanup, things like that. It's like, all right, she's in Eau Claire, it's not like New York City, Eau Claire. It's not like you think of them in the same.
Exactly.
Thought,
no, I know. But well, and so I'm very competitive, Frank, very competitive. And I want to be bigger than any of the other companies out there, right? I want AdvantaClean to be known throughout the land and be the number one. And so I see everything. I'm very advantageous because I don't just say I'm going to market in the Twin Cities alone, because the more people that know about AdvantaClean, it impacts the brand. And at the end of the day, it's like if I say Nike or Pepsi, people immediately know who it is. When I say AdvantaClean, I want people to have that same brand recognition. And I'm also wise enough now to realize there is no bad networking connection. There is. Some people will look at somebody and say, well, they're in New York. Why would you have a connection with them? Because you never know. You never know where that's going to lead, who they're going to know, how you can help them. Scott comes to the Twin Cities quite often. So I've even told him, when you come, I'll pick you up at the airport. I'll take you around. You just never know.
Yeah. Yeah. He went to college just south of there. He went to Carleton. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. So, well, and that's part of it. Like growing up in Canada, both my parents were self-employed, essentially. My mother was a real estate agent and my dad owned his own contracting company. And I really watched and saw and learned from them. It is who you know. And being Italian, it's you do for me, I do for you. Like there's just that natural reciprocity in the Italian culture that, you do for my family, I do for your family. So that's just so ingrained in my DNA that if I can help somebody or I connect with somebody, and then if there's a chance to repay the favor, then you're kind of banking that, so to speak.
Yeah, and when you and I first met, we had a long conversation. One of the things you talked about is you get together with or have a call with other marketing people within AdvantaClean. Is that something you put together, or you just? I get the sense that you just kind of took it over.
I created a surprise. Yeah, I'm going to take that as a compliment. Right?
Well, no, some things are already going, and people just step in and say, "Oh no, this can be so much more. It should be so much more." But you actually put it all together then.
I did, and I encourage other people to do this. And this started with a previous job that I had where I was a facility coordinator for a school district. And I realized there are other people doing my same job and they know a whole bunch of things that I don't. So why don't we all get together regularly so we can share ideas and share strategies? Because I really believe in work smarter, not harder, and learning from other people that are smarter than me and know more. So when I got to AdvantaClean, I started stalking, and I use that term, in a joyous, casual way. I started finding all of the other people that worked for AdvantaClean that did what I did, whether it was on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I started watching what they were doing. And some people were using programs and apps and doing things that I didn't know how to do, but they were really good and effective. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to a whole bunch of them and I said, let's get together on a Zoom call. Let's share our ideas. Tell me where you get different things, what's working for you. Let's just share PDFs that we have. Like, let's just share it so we're not recreating the wheel. And a few of those people that came on those initial calls were actually franchise owners. So they shared it with other franchise owners. By about the second or third month, there was over 50 of us from across the country. Now we're at the point where a lot of the corporate, the CEO of AdvantaClean joins my calls now, because it's a really ground level kind of what's happening on the ground. And I love it because there's so many things I don't know. I mean, I think it's really important for people to understand no matter how good you are, you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you're replaceable. So find other people who know what you don't or who are doing things well and learn from them. And that's what it is now. So every month we get together, we share ideas. I bring in speakers, I bring in books, great networking books, whatever I can, so that we can all help each other.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful lesson. I think I tell people all the time that I don't think there's ever been a year where I haven't rolled out of the year saying, I'm smart now, I've got it all figured out, and then roll into the next year and get punched in the head by something that I didn't see coming, and there's always something new that you didn't see coming, especially with social media. I mean, there's always, something out there, but to be able to tap into other people.
And even with networking, I've really loved now connecting with other people who are really good at networking. I'm learning so much. And it's like finding your tribe. I use that term a lot, saying, you find your people or you find your tribe, so that when you talk to them, you all understand each other and you can get excited together and share ideas. It's good. It's just good.
Now, how do you manage your time with all of it? I mean, I just have the sense that you're out at things all the time. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know.
No, I am. I'm in about eight or nine different networking groups, because we span, our territory is 3 counties within the Twin Cities and Western Wisconsin. So it's a big area. And so I live by my calendar. Everything goes in the calendar. And truth be told, I started this back when I still had my 3 kids at home. We used to say, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Right.
If you haven't put it in the calendar, it's not going to happen because it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean we don't have some room for spontaneity, but I have everything in my calendar now. I've even built in buffers, because recently I started using Calendly, which is a wonderful app. There's a free version, so people can use a free version. And sidebar, I really encourage people to use Calendly because it allows you to show up professional. It allows you, when you want to set up a meeting with someone, rather than emailing back and forth, does this day work? No, how about this date? Does this time? And you're doing that weird email dance. You can just send someone your link and say, go find a time in my calendar that works for you. Boom, instant, it's professional. So like I said earlier, I'm not actually full-time, and it's really important for me to not be full-time. So there is margin and room in my life for my family, for cooking and music and all the things that I love. So I try to be really intentional with building up my calendar. My Mondays are sacred. Nothing gets put on my Mondays, so that I just have time to do social media posts, to set up the week and get ready. And it's just trying to be disciplined with that stuff, which at times I still fail miserably. So
Now, what calendar system you use, like a Google Calendar or?
I do. And the other reason why I like Google Calendar is that it's really easy to share with people. Yeah. I have access to other Google Calendars of people within our franchise that I can work with. Here's another thing. Google Calendar is great because it's web-based. So it doesn't matter where I am. I could be on vacation. This summer, I was quarantined in Canada for 3 weeks. Didn't matter. As long as I had the internet, I could access Google Calendars, and then I was golden. Yeah. So that's something for people to keep in mind. Google is nice. It's web-based. You can access it everywhere. It does have its pitfalls, but that is one nice thing about it.
Yeah, I use both Calendly and Google Calendar. I used to use a blotter of paper on my desk back in the day, right before the internet. Which, hey, can we meet next week?
I still love that.
Yeah, Can we meet next week? Well, I got to get back to my office and look to see what's going on. I think we can. But no, I'm much the same way. I remember getting on to Calendly. I remember leading up to it, just getting busy and sending an email out to somebody. Hey, Paula, here are 3 options for you. And then somebody else wanting to get on my calendar and giving them the 3 options. And it's like just hoping to God they wouldn't pick the same thing.
Yes.
It's, it's just stressful. And I do like the fact that I can manage it, because I don't block out entire days. But we're recording, it's on a Friday. By the end of today, whatever's not on my next Friday, I will block out, just so I know I've got blocks of time. That's just how I work.
Exactly.
Otherwise, just people show up on your calendar.
Yes, because that's the other catch with Calendly is you have to be mindful, because once people get access to that link, they can just go and start filling up your calendar with meetings.
Yeah. And, I've got a guy next week. He's on there twice. All right, Bill, which one is it? Is it Tuesday or is it Wednesday? I don't need you. We don't need to talk twice, or maybe we do.
Full disclosure, to your point, I still love paper and pen, and I do have a calendar hanging on the wall beside me that is an old school calendar that I still write things on, because I still like paper and pen and the tactile. But I also love technology. I do a lot of training for technology, so it's like the best of both worlds.
No, I think it's easier just to send that link out and just say, here it is. And likewise, hey, here's the Google Calendar. Even with my family.
We do that too with our kids. Yeah, they all have a calendar, and we can sync our calendars to each other.
Right. It's like, look at the calendar. What are we doing this weekend? We'll look at the calendar. Or what they'll do is they'll look at my calendar and look at theirs, and hey, this is open. Well, you need to look at your sister's too, because this is all kind of, you can't just look at yours and look at mine. You've got to take a big view of this whole thing to make it all work.
And from a practical point with that, there are times nowadays, so you think in today's day and age with our phones, we're so used to instantly being able to reach people. And quite often you might text someone and think, well, why can't I get a hold of them right away? Yeah. So to your point, when you share calendars with others, you can look and maybe see, oh, someone's in a meeting or they're in a class, and that's why they're not responding to me. They're not ignoring me or whatnot. So again, it's learning how to use technology well, so we don't get frustrated and end up wanting to throw it out the window.
Yeah, no, I just think what it does is it frees up time to have relationships with people. I'm not having to manage the administrative stuff. It's, it's on the calendar. It's the phone number's there. If I'm going to call a phone number or there's a Zoom link, I don't need to stress about it. I can put an address in there. It just appears on my phone, and I don't need to, just focus all my energy on being with people when I'm with people. So
exactly.
I love it. So let's talk about some of the networking things you do. You're obviously you do this AdvantaClean marketing call. Do opportunities come from that? Are people on there saying, hey, here's somebody who's in your territory, or is it mainly just sharing information?
It's mainly been sharing. I find that I'm the one, I know you and I have talked before about givers and takers. And so when I approach that, I know that I'm giving. I'm bringing a lot to the table, and I'm really trying to help the network. But I say that not only do I not mind doing that, but again, what I always try to tell people, you just give and you do for others, because you never know where it's going to lead, just like you never know where that networking connection is going to lead. Because at the beginning of this week, the CEO of AdvantaClean reached out to me and asked if I would do a breakout session for our national convention next year on networking. And so when that happens, of course, I said yes.
Yeah.
But that is a result of doing these AdvantaClean Dream Team meetings every month, bringing in speakers, bringing in info, training people. Next month, the meeting is going to be all about social media 101 to help all the franchise owners that are doing a million things, to at least give them the basics for doing social media. So I just find ways to give, because it always comes back around.
No, I agree. And the pushback I'll get from people on things like that is, well, there are people who never give back. And my response is always, so what? I don't care. I'm not keeping score. What I find is they might not be giving back because they're just not.
They might not know how.
Yeah, they're not dialed that way. But what I find is if I reach out to that person and ask for something, they're more likely to say yes. They will say yes,
Right.
and probably are happy because now I get it. Now I can see how I can help you, whatever that might be.
And I do believe, it is my personal philosophy, that people really want to be a part of something and do something for others. But a lot of people don't know how, to your point.
Yeah.
They just don't know what that looks like. They haven't been raised, they haven't been exposed to it, whatever. So when you can then go to someone and make an ask and they can give back,
Yeah.
the average person, most people really like that because it does feel good and they like being able to offer something. They just don't always know what they have to offer.
Yeah. No,
so
I think
it's great when you can come back and ask.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think as humans, we're hardwired to help other people. But to your point, we just sometimes just don't know how. And I get in that. I struggle from time to time too. I'll be on the call with somebody. Okay, I don't really get it. I don't really get, where I fit into this. But then in time, I guess in time it happens. I think the key is not to put pressure on yourself and just relax, and something will present itself.
We had a saying in our house growing up with the kids, with our children, a family saying, and we would say, oh my gosh, now I'm going to forget it. You are free to choose. You are free to choose, but you are not free of the consequences.
Right.
And that's both negative and positive, right? You're free to choose. You can make a choice, but you're not free of the consequences. And I used to tell my kids, sometimes those consequences are immediate. They're going to happen in an hour or a couple hours. It could be a year. It could be 10 years. But I also taught them it's the same on the positive side. When you choose to do something positive, sometimes the consequence of that is immediate, but sometimes it doesn't come for years to come. And so when we are constantly giving and finding a way to give back to people or give in networking or connections, we're not always going to see an immediate payback or immediate result.
Right.
But it does come back at some point. And it's just sometimes the waiting is a little hard.
Well, it is. And in fact, I had a call before we did set up this recording with an individual and a financial advisor, and he's kind of wrestling with that. He's looking for the immediate. Hey, I had a call.
Yep.
Nothing came. Nothing came from it. It's like, well, that's.
Well, and in networking, that can be really hard because there is this misperception that when you go to a networking meeting or you go somewhere, I'm going there and I should get immediate sales. I should get an immediate return. Everyone's going to come and buy my widgets or my services or whatever. And it's like, no. You're investing in the long term. You need to build relationships. And it's unfortunate sometimes when people are just like, well, what is this going to come back right away? Tomorrow? Next week? Am I going to get the sale?
Yeah. Well, he said, if I call 100 people, I'm likely to get one client. And I said, yeah, but if you network effectively, something's going to happen probably every 5 encounters or every 10 encounters, and you just have more fun doing it. As opposed to picking up the phone and say, hey, can I be your advisor? Can I be that would be soul sucking. I'm sorry. Just would be.
Well, and you also have to think of the industry. Because in my case, we do a lot of emergency services. When someone's had a fire or water damage, that's not something that happens to the average person on a weekly basis. So I'm constantly banking and just doing what I do, knowing that if and when that happens to someone, then they're going to call AdvantaClean. But I don't have a product that I'm selling every week. So people need to be cognizant. What is your industry? What is it that you're doing? What does that look like?
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears here. How can people help you with AdvantaClean, or maybe just in general? What sorts of things are you looking for? Insight, information, an arsonist? I don't know.
You heard it here, or you didn't hear it here, folks?
I said it. You didn't.
Call me later. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to speak to the women out there that are listening, because something I am very passionate about is helping to educate women. In this industry, it has been very male dominated forever. However, It's usually primarily the women that are discovering these things. They're walking downstairs into their basement into a house and they go, I smell something. It smells musty. It smells weird. They're finding the water damage or the mold behind the shelf and they're finding it, but they might not make the phone call because they think, oh, I'm going to call a company and they're going to overcharge me. They're going to talk in terms I don't understand. They're going to treat me like I don't know anything. So then they don't call. Now they're living in a house or a business that has mold, it has these things that are going to be, affect their health. So I'd really like to encourage women to, reach out to me, reach out and ask the questions. So I really want to help educate. If nothing else, if your listeners take nothing else, the one nugget I'm going to give people today is do not use bleach on mold. Bleach actually feeds the mold. So if you Google it and it says that bleach is 96% water, mold is a living organic thing. When you put the bleach on the wall, it'll kill it on the outside temporarily, but the water actually goes through the surface and feeds the roots behind it, and your mold is growing behind there and you don't even know. See, there's something most people won't know. So people see mold and they go like, oh, I'll just put bleach on it. You just fed it and helped it grow. Education. I'm a teacher by trade, so I want to be able to educate. The second thing, just for people to know, is that if you do experience something like a fire, I want people to be aware that there are companies out there that listen to police scanners. And when they hear that someone's had a fire, they want to be first on the scene so that when you're in that emotional, traumatic place, they will try to get your business. Not because they necessarily care about you and what you're going through, but they see big dollar signs. So again, find a company that you trust. If it's AdvantaClean, if we're in your area, that'd be great. Call and ask us questions. Education is free. If you are calling a company asking about what do I do for mold or water damage and they're wanting to charge you, just be a little cautious because education is free. So yeah, definitely reach out. If you're someone who's an insurance agent or a real estate agent, reach out to your local AdvantaClean because we like to come in and do lunch and learns and educate presentations and things like that. But it's just name. When you hear AdvantaClean, think of Princess Paula.
All right, that's great. What's the best way to get a hold of you? LinkedIn or?
LinkedIn is great. I am on personally and AdvantaClean. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and I'm now doing TikTok. So you can find me on TikTok.
Wow. Well. Yeah, she's, I didn't realize you were 25.
Well, yeah. Plus shipping and handling.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time today. This has been great.
Thanks so much, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.